Hello, this is Daryl Ehrlich, and this is Vietnam Voices, a project of the Billings Gazette, sponsored by Masterlube. Today is January 11th, 2016, and today in studio, I'm honored to be joined by Dick Derbyshire. He is of Billings, but he served in Vietnam and was in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1966 to 1969. And we were talking just before all this turned on. I'm really excited to share his story. Dick, thanks for coming in and thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's go back. I want to start. Usually we start in the beginning, but you told me something interesting that I want to go back and kind of capture. Let's talk about when you decided that you were going to become part, and you had it in your mind, as I understand, to be part of the U.S. Marines. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me how that worked out. Tell me why that and when.
Well, I was pretty much a little kid, about sixth grader, and I knew some vets from World War II, and I played cards with them and knew them and listened to some stories. And then I went to a Veterans Day parade, and I was really impressed then. And that's when I made up my mind that I was going to join and go to war.
Okay, so already in sixth grade.
Yes.
Now in sixth grade, what year was that? I mean,
let's see. I graduated 66, probably 59,
okay.
58.
So it was what was it? Was it the men that you knew who'd played cards? Was it the parade? What was it that kind of struck you?
The respect that they had, people had for them.
Yep. Any particular reasons why the Marines?
I just never have been one to do things the easy way.
And the Marines are not the easy way.
Right.
So you decide this in sixth grade, and I think a lot of us, I can remember wanting to be certain things, but this is something that stuck with you, and you followed through with it.
Oh, yes.
Let's go back up. You graduated in 1966.
Yes.
And did you go right to the recruiter's office, or how did that happen?
No, when the day I turned 18, I went down to the recruiter's office and signed up.
Okay.
And 17 days after I graduated, I went to boot camp.
Okay. And were you nervous at the time? Now it's 66, so we'd begun the escalation in Vietnam. Were you aware of Vietnam or the conflict there? Did that concern you, or did it excite you? What was your kind of general feeling that you can remember in 66?
It was just like fulfilling what I had made up my mind to do.
Okay.
More or less.
Okay. You go to boot camp in San Diego?
Yes.
What was that? I've heard a lot of stories from Marine Corps.
It was actually, myself, I enjoyed it, but it was quite trying at times, and they break you down and build you up.
Were you, it's a far cry, San Diego is a far cry from the high line of Montana.
Yes. I'd never even been on a plane before I flew down there.
Wow.
And we left Helena, Montana platoon at that time, all Montana guys, and flew to San Diego, and they met us at the airport with their bus and all the yellow footprints.
Yeah. How long did you have to stand on those yellow footprints?
A long time.
Did you ever wonder when you were going through that, what have I gotten myself into?
The first day, yes.
Okay.
But after that, I just took it in stride and went with it.
What was boot camp like for you? And then let's talk about advanced training. So you did boot camp there, and then what else did you do?
I went infantry training at Camp Pendleton, and then I got what they call your MOS, which I got truck driving, so they sent me right there at Camp Pendleton for that too.
Was it challenging getting through boot camp or advanced training?
Not, I didn't think so. I mean, you got to suffer some, but it wasn't. Well, it was. If I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't go through there in the hot summer.
Right.
You did push-ups on pavement and got blisters on your hands and stuff like that, but most of the time it was well worth it.
Right. So that's in 66. You're trained. you trained as a truck driver. Had you ever driven large trucks or anything like that previously?
Yeah, I'd worked on farms before.
Okay.
And stuff.
So it felt kind of familiar.
Yes.
Okay. So you do that, and then what happens? And then what after that?
I got orders to go to Okinawa to join a 155 howitzer, self-propelled howitzer outfit, and we joined them in Okinawa. And I got there. We got sent to Japan shortly after I was there for cold weather training at Mount Fuji, and from there we went to Vietnam.
What was training on a 155 like?
Basically, for me, I didn't have much to do with the guns.
Okay.
I just hauled the ammunition and stuff. I mean, the projectiles and the powder and all that.
Right. That's a lot of manual heavy work, I imagine.
Yes, yeah. They were 97-pound bullets, basically.
It's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. What's the so you're over there, and is it understood that you're going to eventually wind up in Vietnam, or was there a question when you went to Okinawa or Japan if you'd go
When
over?
we first got there, I don't know, they made it sound like we volunteered. And the next thing you know, we were going. And
Okay.
that was it.
Were you concerned going to Vietnam? I mean, here you had wanted to since you were sixth grade.
No, I wasn't. I wanted to. I actually was looking forward to it till I got on the ship off the shore and seen what it was like. Then I got a little nervous.
Okay, so tell me what you saw offshore that made you a little nervous. Like
Bombs going off. And,
Okay. Is that when you first arrived?
Oh, yeah, we were offshore and you could see the bombs, and ships were firing onto shore too at that time, but you could see all that going on.
Right. And so you're coming in, and all of a sudden it's you're really in a war, not just kind of.
Yeah. My first day on land, they put me up in a tower, which is 4 poles with a platform on top and no place to run. They put me up there for guard duty watch to see where, like the mortars were coming in and stuff, and see where they were coming in from and whatnot. And that made me pretty nervous.
Yeah, because there was
I was
nowhere.
scared to death.
Was there anybody else up there with you?
Yes, there was one other person. Yeah.
All right. And so what did they tell you when you first got there? Just watch, or how do you were you trained for that,
Just
or
watch, and that's it. I mean, they just let us know where they're coming from when we get it. And we got some that night, and I called it in, and they apparently took care of it. We quit getting the incoming anyhow.
welcome to Vietnam?
Yeah.
Wow. That was so you're up there, and can you? I imagine it's quiet. Then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. Or what happens when you're doing that? When you're watching for
Well,
it?
it's just like a normal night. You know, one of you is getting a couple Z's until you hear something go off, and a mortar go off and explode, or whistle in. And
Right.
like I said, then you got to watch to see where they're being fired from. And
Wow.
not,
And you're thinking, I got a whole year of this, I imagine. Or
well, not quite. I lucked out. I didn't have quite a year because we'd been in Okinawa and Japan. And that.
Okay. So when you came in, they were already firing. How did you did you have to wait to land on shore, or what was that like when you came in on ship?
No, we offloaded on shore there, and then we went inland from there to Dong Ha,
Okay.
and then our camp was just outside of Dong Ha.
And what did you recall about, other than, oh my gosh, there's a war going on? What do you recall about the place? How it looked? Was it hot? Was it rainy? Tell me about.
We got there we were wondering why we got there during the monsoons, and I'd never seen rain in my life compared to that. The canvas top off your truck, if you had it off, you'd be sitting driving and water would be in your lap because it couldn't get out of your truck fast enough. And like I said, it just poured.
Wow.
And we were glad we had cold weather gear. at that time because it was 50 degrees, but it was cold.
Yeah, I heard. Now, in the monsoon season, one of the things that has been said often is it was hard to stay dry, and you just get chilled to the bone. You'd be wet, and you could never get dry, and that was...
Exactly.
Was it harder? Was that harder than the heat? Was the wet and cold harder than the hot?
No, not really. The heat got to most everybody.
Okay.
And stuff. Like myself, I suppose I think I was right at 165 to 170 pounds, and I think I lost 30 pounds while I was there.
Wow. Was it so that cold, wet? Yeah, you don't see that kind of monsoon rain up on the High Line, or if you did, you'd flood.
No, that's for sure.
No. Was it so it was cold and rainy? You got there during the monsoon season, and then tell us, you're outside of Dong Ha. What's it look like out? What's the geography and topography look like?
The land actually looked a lot like Montana. Instead of wheat land, it was rice paddies and open areas and stuff, and hills and whatnot. But you never seen any mountains with snow or anything. But they had some hills and everything, and we were stationed at Dong Ha, and then we drove our guns emplacements were at Julin and Con Tien. And Julin was a hill pretty high up and overlooked the DMZ.
Okay.
And you could see for quite a few miles there. I mean, you could see a long way.
Was did it feel familiar, or was it completely foreign to you?
Pretty much foreign.
Okay.
All foreign to me.
Okay. So you get there, and your first night you're put on guard duty, which is not an uncommon story, but to take some incoming, that had to rattle you a little, or did it?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yes. I was scared. Like I said, probably 90% of the time I was scared.
Yeah.
One way or another, we were getting shot at. No matter what we did.
Yeah. Was it when that's central part of Vietnam?
No,
or was that north.
It was
northern?
up in the DMZ.
Right. So most of who you were fighting, I'm guessing, was the NVA.
NVA, yes.
Were they? And I've heard, generally speaking, they were obviously, because they were part of an army, better trained. Did you consider them, or did the Marines consider them well trained?
Basically, see, that's something I couldn't even venture a guess on because we never actually seen too many of them.
Okay.
We've seen a few, but most of them were already dead. But the ones what we got was being shot at from long distance, or they were in a jungle like along the road where our convoy's going, and you can't, I mean, they're so thick there. They're shooting at us, but you couldn't tell who was shooting at you. You couldn't see them.
Yeah, that's hard. So how do you manage to? That's your first night. How do you manage to get to sleep or even rest after being shot at like that? Because that's not something that most people.
You learn not to sleep a lot.
Yeah.
And you nap when you can. I learned that fairly quick. You don't stop when you're in a convoy to use the facilities or anything. You just keep going. You learn to adapt to
Right. I imagine someone said you're always dehydrated because it's so hot there and you sweat out so much. Was that true?
Yes. While you were on salt pills continuously all the time and stuff. But of course, then you had to wear flak jacket, helmet, and all that, and then unload a load of 97-pound bullets. Well, by the time you got that unloaded, you were soaking wet.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like much fun.
No, it was a job, though.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about when you're over there, what are the guys like that you're with? What's the camaraderie like? What's the morale of your fellow Marines?
Pretty good. It wasn't bad. Most of the guys were all from big cities and stuff. I was kind of pretty much lost. They'd never seen anything quite like me, I guess. I was pretty much a loner on that part, but most of the others had been around, you know, and most of them were older than me that I was stationed.
Because you were 19 at the time?
I was 18.
18?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a big change from Highline.
Yeah, you grow up quick.
Yeah, I imagine so. What was so? Let's take after that first night. Let's take us through. Kind of take me through what an average day or what your job was over there.
Well, like when we finally got our position built up, our gun emplacements were quite a few miles away up on the DMZ and Conchen, and then our job would be they'd load one trucks with the 97-pound bullets and whatnot. I mean, you'd load maybe 100 or so of them on a 6-by, and the other truck would have the powder and whatnot. And then you'd get in a convoy and you'd head up to where the DMZ was when we hauled up there. We would haul up and the gun crew would come off and stay out off the hill while we went up with our trucks and restocked their bunkers with the ammo and stuff. And a lot of times we'd get mortar rounds and whatnot when we'd pull in up there, and that's how I got wounded the first time. I was kind of stupid. I had my arm hanging out the truck, and a bunch of shrapnel got my arm a little bit, and scratches and stuff.
What do you remember about that? So were you on a convoy up there taking?
What we do is go up separately. We'd park down below. Meanwhile, there's helicopters watching.
Okay.
And or standing over us and whatnot, and we'd go up one at a time, unload our trucks, and then stock their bunkers, and then we'd bring that truck off, bring the next one up, and that type of deal. And
so you'd have to wait. It sounds like there was a lot of hurry up and wait.
Pretty much, yes. And meanwhile, you're hiding underneath a truckload of ammo, and there's mortar rounds going off, and
sounds safe.
Yeah. You look at one another and thinking to yourself, "What are we doing?" But like I said, nothing ever really happened. Very seldom. We lost one gun. He got a direct hit with a rocket, and we lost one truck through a mine. And when we were on our way up, a friend of mine was in front of me, drove his truck down into this old mine hole, and was going to come back up, and he eased down in. He had the clutch down, and the mine went off when he got into the bottom of it. Another mine was buried in there, and it blew up, and we jumped out. We're going to go help him, and pretty soon we decided we'd better get underneath our truck because all the stuff that blew off his truck was coming down out of the sky.
Wow.
So we got up there, and I don't think he'd have got hurt at all, but he broke his foot because he had the clutch depressed. But that was the only thing that happened to him at that time.
Wow.
But that was not an everyday happening.
Right. How long did it take you to get for a truck to get up, unload, and come back down?
Oh, probably 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. You learn to throw those shells off pretty fast, no matter how heavy they are.
Yeah, I bet you lost weight and gained muscle, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the, so you got some shrapnel, you had your hand out the truck. Tell me how that happened.
A mortar went off behind me.
Okay.
And like I said, there's shrapnel all over. And you learn how to change truck tires pretty fast, too, because a lot of times you're changing them, too.
Right. So did you, when you had shrapnel in, did you have to be medevaced out, or was it something that they could just pick out?
It was just a couple pulls, and that was it. And like I said, I didn't know at the time when I got it. I mean, he says, "We'll put you in for a Purple Heart," and I said, "Okay, whatever."
Right.
And I never even thought about it. there was a lieutenant there, and he said, "Boy, you're lucky. You get a Purple Heart for that." And because he showed me him, and he had scar all across his back because he was almost cut in half. And like I said, that was a Purple Heart, not mine.
Right. Was the so you were always kind of getting, I imagine if you are the convoy with the mortars and the for the 155s, you were always a target then.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
They could see what you were doing and wanted to stop it.
Oh yeah, they shot at us pretty regular, and like I said, it was mostly mortars and rockets and stuff like that.
Right.
And we did receive, well, in our compound, we had a couple gun emplacements there too. And our tent, they made us build a bunker right outside our tent, so we could get into it during mortar attacks and whatnot. And we built the bunker right out there, and well, I suppose we used it maybe a couple dozen times, and we weren't there. Fortunately, we were on a mission, and it took a direct rocket hit, and there was not much left of it or our tent.
Wow. So it was lucky that you were out of there.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
There was a few people get wounded at the time, but not.
When that happens, when they blow up basically your living quarters, what do you do?
You just knock the dirt off and go to sleep right there. You don't have much of a tent is all.
Right. So
there was no replacement stuff.
Right.
At there.
So you'd make do with what you got until they sent something.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty primitive living.
Yes, it is. Showers were very few and far between.
Right. How did, let me ask this question. Did it help you being a farm kid from Montana in those situations? Because there's not a lot. This is pretty basic survival. Do you think it hindered you from being where you were?
I think it helped me adjust.
Okay, in what way?
In the fact that I was used to working in farm fields and being dirty and really being that bad and stuff, and I could still go about my business and didn't worry about things. Sure. But other than that, like I said, a lot of it was in your mind, and I seen some of the strongest guys break down and in their mind. Like myself now, I was pretty fortunate. I mean, I was from a small town. I'd get these care packages from all these, well, I call them all my mothers because it was everybody in town.
Right.
And they'd send care package over, and by the time I was feeling pretty down, I'd get one of them, and shoot, I was all right for another day or two.
Right. What would they have in them? What would care packages have in them?
Oh, they'd have cookies, candy, just odds and ends, and shaving lotion, shaving cream.
What was the hardest thing when you were in Vietnam? What was the hardest thing to overcome mentally?
Not talking to people, anybody that I knew from home.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I talked to my mom in August of '66. I never seen her until '68 in February, and never talked to her. Never talked to anybody.
That's right. You know, in the days of cell phone, FaceTime, email, texting.
Yes.
It's just a completely foreign concept now, isn't it?
Exactly.
Did you write letters?
Yes, I did.
And did she or did your family?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did that keep a connection, or was that hard? Or tell me about that.
It kept connection, and like I said, it helped the reasoning why I was there.
Yeah.
I suppose, for like most of those people I used to work for.
Right.
And the wives, they'd write. The guys, yes, they're very seldom. I don't think I got two letters from any guy while I was over there.
Right.
But mostly it was women and stuff, and it was good to hear. And they'd just say something simple like what was going on, and how the basketball team was doing or how whatnot was going on.
So that helped preserve the link, kind of the link
Yes.
to home.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was when you were over there? What did you miss most about home, about Montana?
Oh, I suppose just the comfort, open spaces, comfort of being wide open and no war.
Right, because you couldn't go anywhere.
You couldn't get away from it over there.
Yeah, yeah. What was so when you were over there? Your daily part of your day was it sounds like supplying,
You had
running
to do
stuff.
like we had if you weren't hauling ammunition, you were hauling sandbags. You had called sandbag detail. You'd go to the river bed, and the townspeople would come out there, and young kids and whatnot, and fill sandbags for you. And they paid them with salad oil. I don't know. It was something to do with the government, and I guess that was lacking in their diet or something. But anyhow, that's how they paid them. And they'd fill sandbags for us. We'd load them and haul them back and do our bunkers and stuff, and whatnot. And then another detail would be to go to Dong Ha, into Dong Ha to get our sea rations and whatnot, food-wise and stuff. But you got one of them jobs, or if you weren't on that, you got the worst job in the world, and that was burning the outhouses, and that wasn't a picnic.
Most guys I've talked to can still remember the smell of diesel fuel and poop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was you mentioned sea rats? What was the food like? Because you were out in the field. Was it all sea rations? Is that what you ate, or
Our outfit wasn't really big enough for a mess hall.
Okay.
We did try and have one, and we got some fresh food, but not a lot. And for most of the part, we were on C ration, K rations and stuff.
Wow. So you became a real connoisseur of which were the good sea rations and which were, or are they all bad?
Nah, they were all good to me. It didn't matter. I'd eat anything.
If you're hungry enough. Right?
That was it. Well, I guess I was more used to eating stuff like that than most people, because there were a lot of them who wouldn't touch it, but I would. It didn't bother me.
Right. What was the, so did you have to go out did you pull guard duty, nighttime patrol, ambushes, things like that?
We didn't go on patrols, no.
Okay.
We just did guard duty, and then we had our perimeter, and we got called on it if they thought we were going to be attacked or anything. And so, once in a while, I suppose maybe probably 3 times a week, we'd end up getting called in the middle of the night, go out there with our rifles and look into the dark at nothing.
Right.
But
was there ever anything?
No.
Okay.
Not for me. I was fortunate. I was quite fortunate there.
Yeah. What was nighttime in Vietnam like?
Dark. Really dark.
Okay.
And but the stars were just like anywhere else. And
Right.
like I said, that's what's really amazing about it. You didn't you're half a world away, and it isn't much different.
Right. Right. So you kind of got some rolling hills. Do you have jungle close, or are you guys?
We didn't have too much jungle real close to where we were.
So it was a little more flat and open, or not flat, but hilly and open.
Hilly and open, yeah.
Yep. Tell me about when you're over there. A lot of the guys, I love this how they referred to it. They would talk about what's going on in the real world. They could get back to the real world, and they'd have plans and conversations. Did you talk about what you were going to do when you got back to the real world, and if so, what was that?
Most of me, all I wanted to do is go back and go to work on a farm or something like that.
Right.
Just to get back to the real world.
Yeah.
Was the main thing.
Did it? So did those? Did the military experience? I don't want to say cure you, but was the 3 years were enough? You didn't want to necessarily do career.
No, I didn't. I did I did what I wanted to do. I did what I said I was going to do, which was great for me. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I did. Whether the people here at the time thought so or not, I was proud of what I did because I went there and I served my country. And
When you look back on it, is Vietnam a good thing for your life? Did you feel like it was a good
I
thing?
wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Okay. What was the most important thing you think you learned over there?
Respect for life.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Say how did you
When you
come to-
watch it disappear, I mean, life go out of somebody, you get a little more respect for it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It scares the daylights out of you.
Yeah.
And most people aren't afraid of dying. They're afraid of what they're going to miss when they die.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I mean,
Yeah.
I, like myself, I was scared all the while I was there. If I wouldn't have been, I'd say there was something wrong with me.
Yeah. Because you're around, I mean, it was a dangerous environment. I mean,
Yeah.
you just drive, you hit what essentially I imagine is a pothole, and there's another mine there.
Yeah.
It seems like a crazy, you can't step anywhere without
You don't understand it. And like I say, then you build a bunker and all of a sudden it ain't there. I mean,
You don't even have something simple like a bed.
yeah. Well, you got caught, but you got holes in it because shrapnel went through it
Right.
and stuff. But and then second time I got wounded, I took a piece through my lower lip, busted a tooth, and of course that was a little scarier.
How did that happen? Tell me about that.
Again, I was at the hill at the DMZ, and there was incoming starting to come in, and we jumped out of the truck. And no sooner jumped out of the truck, I must have got knocked out or something. I woke up and got up and shoot, blood all over me. I don't know what happened. Anyhow, I walked down to the corpsman's, and he wrapped it up and took care of it. And other than that, then I drove my truck back out of there and stuff. But like I said, then that was trouble, though, because when I got the second one, they decided I shouldn't be up on the front lines up there, and they decided to send me back to our rear. Our actual rear, was in Way.
Okay.
The city of Way, and that was quite a ways down south. And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave the outfit. I was short timer,
Okay.
as it was, and I only had a few more weeks left. And I got down to the Way, and that was right during the Tet Offensive, and that town or city had been darn near destroyed during the Tet Offensive, and it looked bad. I had seen it before because I'd went down, pick up a truck, and drove up from there before, and it was amazing. And then I got down there, and they were moving the rear up to where we were, and so I got sent up back to my old outfit as a forward observer.
So you were even now more forward than you would have.
I was right back where I was. I didn't really get anywhere.
Let's talk a little bit about, because Way is an important city. The Tet Offensive is a really important time. What did Way look like after the Tet Offensive? Describe it for me.
It was total destruction, a lot of it. And there wasn't, I mean, I didn't realize the city looked like a normal city when I'd first seen it. And it basically looked like a ghost town and everything afterwards, because there was a lot of it was destroyed.
I bet that to me it would be a pretty stark realization of war too. I mean, you had seen it, but
Yes.
But were you worried after the second time you got hit? Were you worried that and getting short? Those would be things that would really play on you.
Oh yes.
Were you were you?
Makes you want to hide.
Yeah.
For the next 3 weeks.
Did you want to hide a lot farther south and away? I mean, I understand staying with your unit, but I also understand not wanting to roll the dice.
No, actually, though, where I was, I felt comfortable where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what was going to happen. I mean, it was happening every day. We were getting mortared and stuff, but we were surviving it.
So were you on the DMZ during the Tet Offensive?
Yes, basically.
What
yeah.
was that like? Did you guys? I mean, I know
They had quite a fire mission up there at that time with our guns and stuff. But me personally, I was back at Dong Ha. I mean, we didn't stay up on the hill. Our gun crews did, but truck drivers and stuff didn't.
Were you worried during Tet Offensive? Did you know what was going on? Because some of the soldiers didn't really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous, and we were all in fact, at that time we did get called out on our perimeter quite a bit because they were expecting it and stuff, but we didn't actually get hit right. Our outfit right at that position wasn't a strategic. Right. A position, so they didn't worry about it. The one up on the hill, they did try it pretty hard.
Yeah. So you're there, and you get sent back up as a forward observer. Now you're short, right?
Right.
You had a couple of weeks. What did you do for that last time that you were there?
Basically, just set up the tents and stuff that the rear was bringing up and stuff, and I didn't have to do a whole lot because we were the only ones there. And our old outfit really didn't have much to say over us neither because they did. And so it was pretty easy for the 2 weeks. We stood there guard duty when we had to and stuff like that. But other than that was it. When
you were hit and then kind of came back to and had blood out of your mouth and stuff, were you worried? Did that cause you any concern, or was it just like another day?
No, it didn't. Well, myself, see, blood coming from myself don't bother me. When somebody else is bleeding, it bothers me.
Really?
Yeah. Me, I know how I feel. If I'm bleeding, it can't be that bad.
Right.
I don't hurt. So.
Right.
So, like I said, that's the way I've always felt.
Did it take some patching up when you got hit?
Not. He just patched it over and he took a stitch, but that was it.
Sounds miserable.
But actually, you didn't even notice it.
Huh. Did you? So you got done there, and did a lot of the guys were shrapnel wounds kind of the most common thing?
Yeah, our outfit had something like 80 some percent with Purple Hearts.
Really?
Yeah.
You're always.
But it was a pretty commonplace thing.
Yeah, that's something else though, to take shrapnel and to get hit a couple of times. So you did receive the Purple Heart for that?
Yes.
Let's take a look. When you think about there's your yeah.
And the gold stars means it's twice. Now that goes in my back bedroom. Nobody ever sees it.
Well, let's talk about that's a pretty young looking 18.
Yeah.
When you look at this photo, what an honor. What do you think of that now, looking back at the? I'm guessing that's about 18 years old.
18 is when it is. Yes.
What do you think of that when you see that now?
Well, I think I learned a lot. Like I said, it was an experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah. When you got was there any time that you were over there that you thought I may not make it out?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Several times.
What was the one that sticks out in your memory?
Oh, we were hiding under our trucks, waiting to go up on the hill, and we were getting mortared pretty good.
Okay.
And here I am hiding under this thing, and all of a sudden it just wells up inside you. I'm not going to make it. And you're thinking that all the way.
Yeah.
And you're just scared to even move. And you can't move. And like I said, then for some reason it passes and you can do your job and get it done.
How do you get it? How do you just like go back to work after that? Because if I have one of those experiences, I'm shook. But you can't just say I'm taking the rest of the day off. I'm going to the bar.
Right.
Because you don't.
Can't.
Like,
no. You
just
got no place to hide.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're hiding under ammo, which is not the smartest thing. But like I said, we were fortunate
Yeah.
because we had trucks. We could move. We could go places
Yeah.
where some of them, people that were there, didn't. They were on foot. They had to go through all of it on their own and stuff.
Was when those moments happen, when you're all under your truck, under your different trucks, was there a gallows humor? Because you mentioned this, you're sitting there getting bombed under a truckload of bombs.
Right.
Seems like one of the more unsafe places, but where else are you going to hide?
Yeah, we had no place else to go.
Did you all think about that? I mean,
every now and then we'd start chuckling about it, how foolish we were, but there wasn't nothing we could do about it.
Right. So let's talk. So you're getting short. It's time to leave Vietnam. Do you remember leaving Vietnam?
Yes.
What do you remember about it?
The first thing I remember is I don't know whether I should say it or not. Well, I'll say it. It was, I went from Dong Ha down to Da Nang.
Okay.
And I took a C-130 down there, okay? Da Nang, I got on a commercial airline that had actual round-eyed people on it. And I got on there and flew to Okinawa, which amazed me. That was the first round eyes I had seen. Other women, I mean.
Right.
And I got to Okinawa and I celebrated a little bit there for my birthday.
Right.
After I got there, because the next day was my birthday and I didn't think I'd be able to celebrate. I got on the plane the next morning and flew all the way to L.A. and it was 10 o'clock morning, my birthday again.
You got to have your birthday twice.
Yeah. And so I got processed out so fast, I didn't have time to call my mother or anything. And I ended up in Great Falls, which is 102 miles away from home, and no idea how I'm going to get that 102 miles. There's no bus service or anything. And I walked off the plane and I seen somebody I knew from the next town and stopped her, and she said her folks were going back, so I caught a ride with them. And I can still to this day remember, he was a vet too. He was a paratrooper way back. And anyhow, him and his wife give me a ride. I got in the back seat of their car, and I don't think I said 2 words in 102 miles all the way. They made one stop, and he brought out a water glass with some whiskey in it. I drank that down and thanked it for him. And that was about it. I never said anything. And then he finally, when we got to their town, he says, "You better call your mother and let her know you're coming." So I called him from their house and heard the phone drop. So I thought, well, you better get me home. So he took me home. And by the time I got there, my mom had called practically everybody in town.
Because she hadn't spoken, she hadn't heard your voice.
She hadn't heard me since for August the year before.
And were you cleared out, or did you still have some time left on your hitch?
No, I still had a few months.
Okay.
That's about all.
Was coming
Actually,
home
a year.
Okay. Was it coming back home, having a glass of whiskey? Was it good to see home again?
Oh yeah.
Did you think you would see it again?
Oh, I tell you, it's just like taking 1,000 pounds off your shoulders.
Right.
And you learn to you relax. I talked to my mom and this other lady that come down to the house that night, till about 3, 4 in the morning, and then they went to bed. I went to bed. I got up at 6. And I was used to no sleep. It
didn't phase you.
It didn't change.
Right.
And I was awake, and it's just nice to be able to walk around town. I didn't care whether I did anything or not.
That's a great story. Tell me when you were coming into LA, you told me before we turned on the cameras, they were kind of warning you if you had civilian clothes, correct?
Right. They give us they told us heads up that if you have civilian clothes, it's probably best to wear them through the airport because there was protests going on at the time. And I didn't have any civilian clothes. Most of mine were in the bunker with the rocket, and so therefore I didn't have any. I had my military uniform, and that was it. And so I made it through the airport without any real confrontation.
Right. Were you surprised when you came back to the States? Had a lot changed in a year and a half?
I was. You're talking to a kid from the Highline. I was amazed at everything that was out there when I left.
Fair
so
enough.
When I come back, I was amazed.
Yeah.
And stuff. But like I say, I only had 3 or 4 airplane rides before.
Right. So this was adding to it. But
yeah.
Was it when you were over there? Did you know about the dissatisfaction with the war or the protests?
Yes, did. I was stationed with one guy, and his dad was a policeman in, I think it was Detroit. And they showed the tanks going down the streets in Detroit because of the protests and stuff. And he got the newspaper back over there in Vietnam, and we were looking at that. We couldn't believe it.
Huh. So it was a little bit of disbelief over there too.
Yeah.
When you were over there, was there? Did you get any R&R? Was there ever any?
I did. I did go on R&R. I went to Bangkok, Thailand.
Okay. What was it? Was that kind of a nice reprieve?
Yes.
But that still has to be a wide. That has to be another
it was
world. For
another awakening for me because, like I said, I'm a kid from the island and never went any further. Well, you'd never been out of Montana.
Yeah.
I'd never been out of Montana.
Huh.
So pretty much anything I experienced was something new.
Fair enough. Fair enough. When you got back, what happened to you? You still had about a year left. What?
I got stationed in Anaheim, California. Actually, El Toro. It was a Marine Corps Air Base.
Okay. And when you left Vietnam, what was that feeling like?
Well, relief.
Yeah.
I know you're leaving people you know over there.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was a relief because I felt I did what I was supposed to do while I was there. And it was a relief I made it through it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I never thought a whole lot about it because I knew everybody was no different than me. Mm-hmm. They were trained to be there. If they were meant to come back, they were meant to come back.
Yeah. Did you?
A lot of them didn't, I know.
Yeah. Did you ever consider re-upping for another tour, or for another hitch in the Marines, or was this it? Did you know?
No, that was it. I knew then I was going to get out.
So after 69, then what did you do?
I come back. I went to work farm for a while and realized I wasn't going to be nowhere there. So I went. I chased a gal friend out to Spokane and ended up marrying her. And then I put in for the post office when I was in Spokane and got a job here in Billings. And that's pretty much my life. I spent 31 years at the post office here.
So did you, When you came back, was there? Did you meet much kind of protesting? Did you have that experience, or what was the attitude when you came back, when you got out of the military for Vietnam?
Okay, when I first came back, I experienced a little of the protests, when I went back to the air base in California. Then while I was on the air base in California, I had a little more of an education there because it was, I don't know what caused it, but there was racial tension at that time on the Marine base.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a kid from Montana. Well, I had no racial, even idea of what racial tension was to me. But I found out in a hurry because I got kind of in the middle of it. But fortunately, one of the friends of mine from over in Vietnam was with me there in El Toro, stationed with me, and he was a black person, and he stepped in, and I got out of the tension.
Right.
But I didn't even realize what was going on.
Right. It was just that, different.
That's it. I mean, I'd never ever experienced it.
What was when you got out and then went to work? Did you? You're obviously, your family knows you'd been through Vietnam, but is it something that's come up a lot in conversation? Your effort in the war?
Really. My son, when he got married, his father-in-law was a Marine.
Okay.
We went through the same barracks, in fact, but he was in the 40s.
Okay.
Quite a bit older than us, and he passed away here a year or so ago, a couple of years ago. But they talked to me about Vietnam, and they wanted to see my pictures and whatnot. And that's the first time I pulled them out since the first year I got out. I think I showed them to the PTA at Guilford.
Okay.
And then I have slides, mostly slides, and not a lot. And so he talked me into breaking them out and explaining some of this stuff. He was kind of amazed at how normal the terrain was, and compared to Montana and stuff. And I said, "Oh yeah, the roads were bad, but I mean, other than that, you drive 6 by, it don't matter."
You can go over pretty much anything.
Yeah, but that was the second time I'd pulled those pictures out and looked at them in the 40 years since.
Wow. Did you have you ever been? So you've never been back to Vietnam?
No.
Do you have any desire?
No.
Okay. Have you seen the wall, Vietnam Wall?
Yes. That's on my bucket list.
Okay.
Is to go there one day.
Is that a tough thing? Why go and see that? Why is that on your bucket list?
I've got friends on there.
Okay. Yeah.
There's probably 3 or 4, maybe 5.
Yeah. Is it when you think back now? It's been almost this year, 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
People hate it when I do math, and that's why I'm a journalist. I stay away from that. But let's talk about it. 50 years. You've had 50 years of life since to look back on that. When you look back, how do you think of Vietnam now, and how has it maybe changed?
Well, I think it probably hasn't changed a whole lot.
Okay.
I don't think. Main reason is that war was going on. I don't know how many years. Well, the French were there, and before us and stuff. So that war's been going on for a long, long time. I don't know that it's all settled. Maybe it is. I mean, I see where people go over there and enjoy their visit.
Yeah.
And stuff. And it was a nice country. I'm not nothing against the country itself. But I pretty much like to leave my memories where they are.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about, did you have any interaction with the people of Vietnam?
Yes. I'll show you some.
Yeah.
I can show you. That's what the gun looks like.
It's a big gun.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really-
what our tent looked like after the rocket hit the bunker right beside it.
Lots of holes, some holes in there.
Yeah. That's me with my flak jacket.
I like the sleeveless and flak jacket. I like the. You're pretty tough looking. For,
Well, just the dirt makes you look tough, that's all.
the dirt makes you look tough. I like that.
Yeah.
So what are these? These look like people.
Those are, when I told you the villagers that
They're
built
filling sandbags.
Yes, that'd be sandbag detail.
Looks kind of miserable.
There's a bomb going off. It dropped by one of our planes. This is me and a friend of mine building the bunker. There's another picture of that bunker again.
And there's just a cot out there. I imagine that's where you have to stay, right? I mean,
Right, that's it. There's my truck. Got a hole in the windshield.
Is that just a deuce and a half, or is that
6 by.
That's 6 by, yeah.
Yeah.
Hole in the windshield, yeah. That is great. I'm holding this up to the camera because there's a hole right in the windshield. How'd that get there?
Well, when the
When the
mortars
shrapnel-
and stuff, shrapnel.
Wow.
And there's one of the guns we lost.
Not much of it left.
No. No.
You know, if you take the guns, it's really interesting. If you take the ramparts here, the kind of, and the guns away from it, just the horizon stuff doesn't
That's
look
what I'm
so
saying.
doesn't look so different than Montana,
No,
does it?
No, you could see a long ways.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, it wasn't a whole lot different.
Right.
There's a garbage picture of a kid. But that's about it.
Wow. So what was did you interact
There's
with?
an evac helicopter, I guess.
What was the did you ever interact with the people of Vietnam up there, or were
Just
you
on the
just on those
sandbag.
sandbag?
Yeah, that was
Wow.
about it. We had a barber
Mm-hmm.
at our main gate,
Okay.
and once in a while he'd go through and stuff in our compound, and we captured him twice, mapping out the compound.
So he was working the other side too.
A little of both, yes.
I've heard that. I
But-
heard that they would work a little for kind of
but-
both sides.
But like I said, there wasn't much you could do about it.
Right. So as I've heard, friend by day, enemy by night.
Exactly.
That's when you looking now, kind of looking forward. One of the reasons we're doing this is so that people, when they look back, can say, "Hey, here's the experiences from Vietnam by a Montanan who was over there." What do you hope they remember? What do you hope people in the future remember about Vietnam from a guy who was over there?
Well, I hope they actually think it was worthwhile, mostly.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't a waste, because there's a lot of people on that wall that, for no reason, then
Yeah.
hopefully that's what it is.
Yep. When you talk to your kids about Vietnam, or when you share, what are they most interested in? What is most thing? What is your family?
Well,
interested in?
I haven't really talked to.
Okay.
See, that's why my wife decided I should do this.
We've had a lot of wives. This project, it should go without saying that this project would not have been possible, not only without the veterans, but their wives who have really
you know
pushed
what?
them forward.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what my mother went through, finding out about my Purple Heart in the middle of the night, not knowing how bad I was hurt, how scratched, what it was.
Dad, tell me about that story. What happened?
Well, they notified my mother about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. She got a call from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
and told her that I'd been wounded, but everything was fine, and I was back on regular duty and everything. Wow. But you can't imagine a single mother like her. My dad died when I was 15, so she was on her own.
Yeah.
And getting notified at one. But fortunately, the operator knew something was up because they called her back in the morning and explained again to her, and which helped.
Yeah. Wow, that must have been terrifying for her.
Oh, it had to be. That's why you say the wives, the mothers, like up there, I'm fortunate. I had townspeople. I mean, they were backing me. I had people like that behind me. So, I mean, that's why I'm there.
Yeah.
Those people.
Yeah. That would be a horrifying. The parents' worst nightmare is those
absolutely. I think about that for me as a parent, and I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Let alone I put my mother through it.
We've heard a lot of those stories. Mom not knowing or your son's been wounded and not knowing. They were pretty sparse with the information.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your family has to be proud though of your service, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you? So you said that you wouldn't trade it for anything. Would you go back again? Would you do it over again?
The same thing.
Would you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Even as scared as I was.
Really, you'd do it again?
I'd do it.
Yeah. Well, what was the happiest moment you had in Vietnam?
Boy, I guess be leaving. That's the only thing. I'm sorry, but that's
no. There's nothing to be sorry for. That's great. I think I would be if I'd gotten wounded twice and I was leaving in one piece.
That's it.
I'd be pretty happy.
That was it.
Yeah. Did the when you got back, do you think Vietnam? I mean, is Vietnam something that you said that this is just back in your back bedroom? Is Vietnam something that affects you on a day-to-day basis? Do you think about it, or is it something that's just more back in 1966 through 69?
Well, it's come about more now with this stories that you're doing and stuff. It helps, and my grandson makes a difference because he's too much like me.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I got a feeling that he's going to do the same thing as I.
Yeah. Does that scare you or worry you, or is that?
It scares me, but I've got confidence in him.
I hear you. Well, that is so. In all of these things, what stories have I missed? What have I left out about your story, Dick? I
don't. You made it sound a little bigger than it was. What I figure.
No, I think you've done a great job. In fact, I want to say two things before we wrap it up. First of all, thank you for serving. Thank you for going over there and doing that. And then also thank you and your wife for doing this, because I couldn't, they're not my stories, they're your story, but they need to be preserved, and yours especially too. I thank you for what you did for this country, and I thank you for coming and taking time out of your schedule today. And so just want to say thank you on both parts. It's been my honor to listen to this story. Folks, this has been Daryl Ehrlich with the Billings Gazette. This has been the Vietnam Voices series, a project of the Billings Gazette sponsored by Master Loop. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening.